Hey everybody, this is War Boss Fitz, and today we are going to be talking about the machine cult, our wonderful little toaster lovers. I've been a lover of the mechanical type since before Nottingham put out an army for these guys. So for the game today, I'm going to pull deep from my collection so you guys can see the eclectic bunch of ridiculousness that my mechanical cult's army is. I don't think I have a single model that has not been converted, modified, or smashed together in some way. And for our battle today, I'm going to include dice rolls on the table and do a little bit more in-depth discussion when it comes to the two armies fighting it out. Let's go ahead and kick off our review with the special rules. We'll go over the hero skills first. Canticles, this model and its unit gets AP +1 when shooting. That is an amazing skill. Repair, once per activation, if within 2 inches of a model with tough, roll 1 die. On a 2+, you may remove D3 wounds from that model. Now that's a great ability too, a little bit pricey, and I almost think that it should have come stock on all the characters, just because this is what the army does. And our last commander ability is Psalms. This model and its unit move +2 on advance and +4 on rush/charge. For some of the close combat units we got coming up that we're going to look at, this is a great ability for them as well. Then for our unit upgrades, we have cluster grenades. Whenever this model moves over enemy units, pick one of them and roll a die, and on a 6, it takes 1 hit. So that's 1 die per model. So if you have a squad of 10, you're going to roll 10 die. Phosphor, this weapon ignores cover. There's a whole lot of phosphor weapons in the army. Radiation, enemies that roll to block hits from this weapon take 1 additional wound for each unmodified result of a 1 that they roll. Not only we're going to shoot you, we are going to shoot you and give you cancer at the same time. Slayer, this model gets AP +2 in melee against units where most models have toughness 3 or higher. Taser, unmodified rolls of 6 are multiplied by 2. Only the original hit counts as a 6. This is going to be for some more of the esoteric close combat weapons that the army is packing. Just like your granny walking around the mall, they're carrying tasers in their purse. So from there, we're going to go over to spells. Critical aim 1. Target friendly unit within 6 gets AP +1 next time it shoots. This can stack with the canticles, giving whatever squad you cast this on AP +2, which turns really crap weapons into really great weapons. Solar Beam 1. Target enemy model within 12 takes 1 hit with AP 4. Now you can call out an individual model with this. It's not something that's going to take down a hero on its own because it only is 1 hit. It does let you pick out individual models in a squad that are carrying a certain piece of equipment and erase them from the board. Shrapnel 2. Target 2 enemy units within 9 inches, take 4 hits each, because your high priest is hiding claymores under his robes. Steel Body 2. Target 2 friendly units within 12. They get +1 to defense rolls next time they take hits. With some of the units that we have in this army list, that is amazing, going from a defense of 3 to a 2 or a 4 to a 3. A spell that just increases survivability by 16% is just always good. Corroded Metal 3. Target 2 enemy units within 24 inches. They get -1 to hit rolls next time they shoot. That's a rather long range to debuff the enemy for a -1 to hit. Rather nice. And finally, Machine Terror 3. Target 2 enemy units within 9 inches. They take 6 hits each. These would be bigger claymores under the robe. The spells of this army I think are especially good, with the critical aim giving you the stackable AP, and the steel body giving 2 units +1 defense. This spell list is pretty darn good. So for our 3D creator spotlight for this week, we are going to do the Maker's Cult. Now, if you've been 3D printing for a while, you know of the Maker's Cult. They have a huge collection of all kinds of mechanical monstrosities in tons of different styles for lots of different army types. All the pictures you're going to see are things that I pulled right off of their website. Even though I pulled the stuff that's labeled sort of like what the unit's supposed to be for OPR, there's options for every single one of these units. Like just the Dragoon Walkers or the Iron Walkers, I think they have 4 or 5 different styles of model for just those 2 units. So again, I'm not sponsored when I call out a 3D creator. I like putting stuff in front of you guys that maybe you haven't seen. Go check them out. I am 100% behind 3D printing as opposed to buying British plastic. So let's go ahead and get to the units, and we're going to start with the characters first. We're going to start with the baby character and work our way up. The Cult Leader, 45 points, Quality 4, Defensive 4, Hero, Strider, and Toughness 3. He comes equipped with a R Fusel, 2 shots at 18 inches with radiation, and 1 attack with a close combat weapon. He can be upgraded with Psalms, Repair, Caster 2, Caster 3, or Canticles. We've already gone over that. He can replace his Fusel with a pistol, and if he takes the pistol, it unlocks Phosphor Pistol, Revolver, Arc Pistol, or a G Rifle. You can also replace his Tech Sword with a Taser Sword, an R Sword, an Arc Sword, or an Axe Halberd. And you can upgrade him with Stalker Wings that gives him ambush and flying, or a Mechanical Horse that gives him fast, scout, and toughness 3. So this is going to be your Sergeant type of character. It's going to be a character that you can upgrade to put in any one of the squads that come in the Machine Cult. Just equip him accordingly. Now, Canticles being AP1 is great, but as you can see, it is a 60-point upgrade on this character. So to get those upgrades, they're going to cost you. So you're only going to get a few, and choose where you want to put them carefully. Our next step up on our characters is the Sect Leader. 70 points, Quality 3, Defensive 4, Hero, Strider, and Toughness 3. Comes equipped with a Leader Dual S-Blade, 4 attacks at AP1 with Rending. He can be upgraded with Psalms Repair Caster 2, Caster 3, and Canticles. And you can replace the Dual S-Blade for a F Blaster and a Taser Sword, a S Razor and Claw, or a Leader Burst Carbine and an Energy Sword. You can also upgrade him with Stalker, which gives him Fast and Furious, or Infiltrator, which gives him Stealth and Scout. So this will be a Sergeant type character when we get to the Sect Stalkers and the Sect Infiltrators, because his only options correspond to those 2 units. So when we get towards the end, I'll go over a little bit of the strengths and weaknesses of all the sergeants and the different units, and where it would be smart to put the upgrades. And finally, the big cog himself, the High Priest. 85 points, Quality 3, Defensive 3, Hero, Regeneration, and Toughness 3. Comes equipped with an Axe Halberd for 3 attacks at AP4, and a Revolver, 1 shot at 12 inches at AP1. He can be upgraded with Psalms, Repair, Caster 2, Caster 3, and Canticles, and everything seems to be the same price on all 3 characters. And you can upgrade him because he has additional arms with a Macro Pistol, a Phosphor Repeater, a Supersonic Cannon, Eradicator, Railgun, or a V-Blaster. So just like all Machine Cult leaders, this guy is going to have an eclectic collection of whatever he wants to carry to battle that day, because he is the boss. Ain't nobody going to tell him what to do. He has a very interesting collection of weapons that he can take, all with wildly different ranges. So he will be great to stick into one of your heavier units, which we'll get into as we go along. On to our troops. Here are the Skittles. Cult Rangers, 5 of them for 90 points, Quality 4, Defensive 4 with Strider. 1 attack apiece with close combat weapons, and 1 shot at 18 inches with an R Fusel that has radiation. You can replace one of the R Fusels and close combat weapons with a Revolver and a Tech Sword to give you a Sergeant. You can replace that Revolver with an R Pistol, Arc Pistol, P Pistol, or a G Rifle. Man, these abbreviations just sound weird coming out of my mouth. You can replace his Tech Sword with an R Sword, Taser Sword, Arc Sword, or an Axe Halberd. You can replace all R Fusels with G Rifles to make them into long-range Rangers. And you can replace one of the R Fusels with an Arc Gun, Flamer, Fusion Rifle, Plasma Carbine, or Uranium Rifle. These are going to be your jack-of-all-trades, standing on victory points, scoring your points, holding the enemy off, given everything radiation therapy at long range. For a basic troop in this game, they seem to be pretty okay. One shot at 18 or one shot at 30, they seem to be pointed appropriately. I wouldn't worry about upgrading a character to carry the revolver and the tech sword. If you give them all rifles, I wouldn't even worry about giving them an additional weapon because the uranium rifle is the only thing that really synergizes with the range, and the only thing that gives you over top of the regular rifle is the sniper keyword. If something's 30 inches away, I'm not really going to worry about picking out individual things. But if you keep them with the 18-inch range guns, plasma carbine is a great choice, or the arc gun is also a good choice just because they synergize with the range. I wouldn't worry about a flamer or a fusion rifle. The flamer, you're going to find your blasts in other places, and the fusion rifle, there's going to be other things on the board that are going to be there to kill all the heavy stuff. We go from that big block of text to the Shock Priests with their whole one upgrade. Shock Priests, 5 for 115 points, quality 4, defense of 5, Furious, Regeneration, and Slayer. They're all equipped with shock staffs that are 2 attacks apiece with rending, and you can replace the staffs with a taser gauntlet and gauntlet shock, which gives you 2 taser attacks in close combat and 2 taser attacks at 12-inch range. The Shock Priest with the staff make for a pretty good, pardon the pun, shock infantry. With their Furious, Slayer, and Rending, anything that is more than a basic troop, anything that has toughness 3, they're going to start ripping right through it. Because if they want anything that has toughness 3 or higher, that becomes 2 attacks apiece at AP2 with Rending. And the Furious means that they are going to have their 6s explode. Now, there is some merit to having the Tickle Finger version that lets you fire lightning bolts out of your fingers like Palpatine. The only thing they lose in that case is the Rending, but they do pick up Taser in case they want to engage something in close combat. And just having a 12-inch range gauntlet shock on top of that is a pretty good utility to pick up. So if you're willing to get rid of the Rending ability of these, and you charge something with the Taser gauntlets, for every 6 that you get when you attack, Furious is going to give you an extra hit, and Taser is going to give you an extra hit. So for every 6 that you get with these guys, if you're using the Taser gauntlets, it's going to be 3 hits. There's no AP against basic stuff, but if you're going up against something with toughness 3, these guys are going to be a lot of damage in a pretty small and cheap package. So our next unit to talk about is the Sect Stalkers. 5 of them for 155 points, quality 3, defensive 4, fast, furious, and strider. They all come equipped with dual S-blades for 2 attacks at AP1 with rending. You can replace all the dual S-blades with S-razors and a claw. And you can upgrade one model with a metal spike for 1 attack at AP1, deadly 3, and limited. Apparently he breaks his metal spike off inside someone's skull. So like I was talking about with the characters, once we got here, I'd tell you what the upgrade would probably be useful here. In case you want to take a sect leader with the Sect Stalkers, I would equip him for close combat. And just giving everything a once over, it's pretty much a toss-up between the dual S-blades and the razor and claw, because with the dual S-blade you have rending, with the claw you get an extra point of AP, you have Furious, so you're going to get extra hits at AP2, or you're going to get an extra hit plus a rending hit with the blades. That one's completely up to you, whichever way you want to run it. If you're running against somebody that has a whole lot of regeneration in their army, the S-blades are the way to go, just shutting down that regeneration. If you take a sect leader, you're going to want to give him Psalms to make this squad even faster. Even though they are fast to start with, you can pump it up to even faster. All these little long-legged bozos running across the field to jump on somebody's face. It's a great look. Our next unit is the other long-legged bozos, Sect Infiltrators. 5 of them for 165 points, quality 3, defensive 4, scout, stealth, and strider. They each have a F blaster for 2 shots at 9 inches, and they each carry a taser sword for 2 attacks apiece with taser. You can replace all the F blasters and swords with a burst carbine for 2 shots at 18 inches, and an energy sword for 2 attacks at AP1 with rending. Now in this situation, what I would do with these is I would give them burst carbines and set up my sect leader to give them canticles. Now that is going to be an expensive prospect if you want to take this squad, but in my opinion, that's the best way to do it. Just because they're at a weird break point if they take the blasters and the taser sword. If you're at 9 inches away, why wouldn't you just charge into close combat where you have tasers on your weapons? It's going to give you more punch to charge into something instead of standing back and shooting it. Even if your character you attach has canticles, I would still push them in there with the tasers. And with Scout, Stealth, and Strider, they're not the fastest unit, so Psalms is a possibility in case you want to give them a little bit of speed running around. But with Scout, you're going to get your free move before the game starts, so you're going to be kind of up there and engaged already. And last of the long-legged idiots, we have the long-legged idiots of the sky. Sky Stalkers, 5 of them for 200 points, quality 3 and defensive 4, ambush, flying, and furious. They each come equipped with a close combat weapon for 2 attacks, and they're all carrying F carbines for 2 shots at 18 inches. You can replace all of the F carbines with a P thrower. Again, these abbreviations are great. 2 shots at 12 inches with phosphor and reliable. So they're going to hit on 2 and ignore cover completely. You can replace one of the carbines with a F blaster and a taser sword. And you can give all the models cluster grenades for 10 points. Now this squad, you can't put a sector leader, well, I mean, you can put a sector leader in this squad, but you're going to want to go to the cult leader because they're the one that have the option to get the jump pack to give them ambush and flying. I wouldn't worry about cluster grenades unless you're planning on being really fancy with them, because they are a flying unit, but they're not fast, so it's going to limit your ability to hit with the cluster grenades. The way that the unit comes decked out, you would want to be shooting with them, so you're not going to want to get close enough to use those cluster grenades anyways. Unless somehow the enemy's close enough to where you're able to move and cross the whole squad within 6 inches and then be able to shoot, I wouldn't worry about cluster grenades. Your guns are going to do a whole lot more damage. Just back up and shoot them. First of the big boys, Breacher Cyborgs, 3 of them for 230 points, quality 4, defensive 3, slow, toughness 3. They come equipped with cyborg claws, which give them 3 attacks apiece, and contortion cannons for 1 shot at 24 inches with AP 3 and deadly 3. Now we're getting into the vehicle stopping weapons. You can replace the contortion cannon with a heavy arc gun, 36 inches, 3 shots with rending for 5 points. And you can replace all the cyborg claws with arc claws to give them AP1 and rending in close combat. For this squad, I think your best bet is going to be to keep them with the contortion cannons. AP3 with deadly 3 is a good spot, especially when you could take a character and give them canticles to make that AP4. That's all there really is to this squad. They are guns strapped to bodies, strapped to tracks, legs, big mechanical chicken, whatever you want to do with your models. Then the sister version, the Destroyer Cyborgs. 3 of them for 245 points, quality 4, defensive 4, relentless, slow, and toughness 3. They come again equipped with cyborg claws for 3 attacks, and they each have a gravity cannon, 4 shots at 24 inches with rending. You can replace the gravity cannon with a plasma cannon to give them all 1 shot at 30 inches with AP4 and blast of 3. Or you can replace the gravity cannon with a P blaster and plasma cannon, or a flamer and plasma cannon. I don't know why they grouped it up like that, instead of just having you could take the blaster and the flamer a separate option. I don't know. But for these guys, if you're fighting against a lot of stuff that has a lot of heavy armor as far as groups of infantry, like if you're fighting against Battle Brothers or Havoc Brothers, you're going to want to do the plasma cannons. Just to give blast 3 with AP4. That's enough to sometimes, if they get a good enough volley of plasma, it'll wipe a whole squad. This squad wouldn't actually benefit much from canticles if they took the plasma cannon, and because they have relentless, which relentless means if you stand still and you roll a 6 to hit, you get another hit for a ranged weapon. So they wouldn't really benefit from Psalms either, because this squad doesn't really want to do a lot of moving. It is an expensive squad. At that point it'd be 250 points, but it doesn't have to pay any character tax to unlock its potential. It kind of already has that unlocked on its own. And our last troop type unit, we have the Raider Cavalry. 3 of them for 180 points, quality 4, defensive 4, fast, scout, strider, toughness 3. They each have 1 attack with a close combat weapon, and they all have G carbines for 2 shots at 18 inches at AP1. You can replace any of the carbines with twin P pistols, which gives them 9 shots apiece with phosphor. You can replace one G carbine with a twin P blaster for 4 shots at 18 inches with phosphor. You can replace one G carbine and close combat weapon for a P pistol and an energy sword, or a Raider saber and revolver. And you can upgrade all the models with P breath. Oh, these abbreviations are great. P breath, 2 shots at 6 inches, phosphor and limited, so they get 1 shot apiece. This unit is going to be made for close-up firefights. With fast scout and strider, they're going to be a maneuverable stick and move kind of squad. If you scout, let's just do some math here. If you scout forward, that's going to put you 12 inches off the board. They're fast, so that will be a 8-inch move to shoot. And then they have 9-inch shots from the twin P pistols and a 6-inch shot from the P breath. Again, that makes me giggle. That'll be if they get within 6 inches of the enemy on their first shooting phase. 18 shots out of 3. And you can also put a cult leader on here, because I remember I saw the horse upgrade on him, but if you put the cult leader in there, you don't get the scout move. So I wouldn't worry about putting the cult leader in. If you want to do the turn 1 alpha strike with all of those shots, if you want to hang back with the 18-inch G carbines, then yeah, putting a cult leader in there and give them mechanicals to make the shots AP2, that's worth it too. But me being me, I would definitely go for the pistol and the P breath attack. Mostly so that I can giggle like a 12-year-old when I say, deal with my P breath. All right, now that we've had enough of that, on to our vehicles. We're going to start off with a landing craft. 240 points, quality 3 and defensive 2, fast, impact 6, strider, toughness 6, and transport 11. It comes equipped with a twin P machine gun for 4 shots at 30 inches with phosphor, and you can upgrade it with an additional twin P machine gun to give it a total of 8 shots at 30 inches with phosphor. So it's pumping out a lot of shots just for a troop transport. What I would use this troop transport for mostly would be for the shock priests, because your rangers, they're going to want to stay back because you've probably upgraded them with the longer range guns. There's no point in them getting into an APC and running across the board. But the shock priests, there is a lot of point to get them across the board as fast as possible. So if I was going to be taking a landing craft, it would be with shock priests on the inside so they can spill out and show everybody their jazz hands. Then we're going to go to the attack craft. It's the same basic tank, but this time, instead of a troop transport capacity, we have gun. 460 points, quality 3, defensive 2, fast, impact 6, strider, and toughness 12. It comes with an energy cannon, 2 shots at 30 inches with blast and indirect, and a triple P machine gun for 6 shots at 30 inches with phosphor. You can switch out the energy cannon with an iron cannon, 36 inches, 2 shots, AP2, deadly 3, and lock on, and you can upgrade it with a disruption missile for 24 inches, 3 shots at AP1. The energy cannon is pretty interesting, where it is an indirect blast 3 weapon with 2 shots. You can hide this tank, fire off, and not worry about anybody shooting back at you. But you've got an awful lot of stuff in the army that's already going to be shooting things at 30-inch range. That's going to be anti-infantry, so the blast isn't really going to be where I would want to put points on this. And then the iron cannon, the iron cannon would be the choice I would make on it to go hunt other vehicles, and I would also put the disruption missile on it as well. But at that point, we are pushing 565 points. That's quite a lot of points sunk into this baby. It is fast with toughness 12 and defensive 2, but I think there would be points better spent elsewhere to do what this thing can do. Kind of like the crawler tank, because we all like a big box on spider legs with guns sticking out of it. 415 points, quality 3, defensive 2, impact 6, strider, and toughness 12. Comes equipped with a twin P machine gun, 4 shots at 30 inches with phosphor, and a twin P cannon, 8 shots at 24 inches with phosphor. So the basic loadout on this, again, is falling into anti-infantry territory because it has no AP, but it does ignore cover with phosphor. You've got plenty of rangers and tickle fingers out there dealing with that. Rangers and tickle fingers and infiltrators and everything else is dealing with enemy infantry. You can replace the twin P cannon with an eraser beam, 36 inches, 2 shots, blast 3, AP1. Interesting that reduces the points of the tank by 15 points. You don't get phosphor and you get less attacks overall, but it is AP1. You can give it a neutron laser and an additional P machine gun, giving it a total of 6 shots with its P machine gun. And then the neutron laser is 2 shots at 36 inches, AP3, deadly 3. This would be your anti-tank hunting weapon. And you can give it the Icarus anti-aircraft system, 36-inch range, 6 shots, AP3, and lock-on. 105 points seems awful steep for that weapon. In case you're running up against a lot of aircraft, I wouldn't worry about it. I would stick with either the neutron laser or basic P cannon and machine gun. I would just go straight with the neutron laser, because somehow during the game I would fit in as many Jimmy Neutron jokes as I could. And lastly, you can give it a repair arm for regeneration in case your defensive 2, toughness 12 you don't think is going to be enough to last 4 turns. Then we come to our combat robot. 240 points, quality 3, defensive 2, fear 1, fearless, stealth, and toughness 6. It comes stock with dual energy fists for 4 attacks at AP4, a heavy flamer for 1 shot at 12 inches, AP1 with blast 3 and reliable, and stomp for 2 attacks at AP1. You can replace the dual energy fists and the heavy flamer with twin P cannons. You can replace the heavy flamer with a P cannon, and you can give it a robot smith for regeneration. Now, I have a lot of fun and I have a lot of history with the combat robots, because this might be the reason why I started the Army years and years ago in the first place, because I love the Betamax looking, goofy faced, huggable, Michelin man looking doofy robots. I even did a video, one of my first narrative videos was a bunch of conscripts going up against these guys. So as far as options go, I wouldn't worry about the P cannons, because again, you've got enough anti-infantry everywhere else. What this guy is going to be, what I like to use him for whenever it's not a narrative game, is to run forward with the dual energy fists to put the fear of the machine god into people. 4 attacks at AP4 is going to do a bit of damage when you get there, and the heavy flamer as a backup seems to do relatively well. They are only toughness 6, so as far as walkers usually go, they are kind of skinny compared to like your Battle Brothers or your Orc combat walkers, but it's got stealth, so that'll help it a little bit, and for the extra 20 points you can put on regeneration to help it a little bit more. Then we go to the perpetual motion machines. The Dragoon Walker, 205 points, quality 3, defensive 2, fast, fear 1, stealth, strider, and toughness 6. 2 attacks with a stomp at AP1, and 4 attacks with a taser lance at AP1 that has taser and lance. So what those 2 rules together means is that whenever it charges, it's going to be AP3 because lance gives it AP plus 2 when it charges. And taser means that every 6 you roll, you're going to get an extra hit. Now you could replace the taser lance with an R Giselle for 3 shots at 30 inches with radiation and sniper. Why would you ever do that? And you could upgrade it with a P repeater for 2 shots at 18 inches with phosphor. Again, don't do that. This thing is perfect the way it is. It's cheap at 205 points. It hits decently hard in close combat, especially when it charges something with the AP3. And it doesn't have to pay any points for ranged weapons it's probably never going to use. If you use a Dragoon Walker, don't put any upgrades on it. Let it be how the machine god intended. If you want to put guns on it, you go to this one, the Iron Walker, 280 points, quality 3, defensive 2, fast, fear 1, strider, and toughness 6. 2 attacks with a stomp at AP1, and it comes equipped with a twin laser cannon for 2 shots at 36 inches, AP3 with deadly 3. And you can replace the twin laser cannon with twin autocannons for 6 shots at 36-inch range and AP2. This is going to be pick your flavor. If you're fighting heavier stuff, you're going to want the twin laser cannon. Or if you're fighting a mix of things, the twin autocannon I found seems to be a good in-between. You're not going to be taking out enemy heavy tanks with it, but you're going to be taking out a good swath of infantry, heavy infantry, and lighter things like other vehicles that only have a defense of 3. I really like the Iron Walkers on where they sit for point value wise. They feel like they are worth the points that you pay for them to put them on the table. And finally, we come to the aircraft. The Arc Fighter, 205 points, quality 3, defensive 2, aircraft, and toughness 6. It comes equipped with a twin P machine gun for 4 shots at 30 inches with phosphor, and a bomb rack, 1 shot at 6 inches, AP 1 and blast 3. And for options, you can take out the bomb rack and put in an assault module to give it transport 6. Now, as far as my personal convictions for aircraft, they're always overpointed, the weapons are lackluster, and you're only going to get to use them 2 or maybe 3 rounds during the game. But in this case, the assault module does give us some odd options. The ability to put a smaller squad all the way at the back of the board on turn 1. That would be a great spot to drop off some very angry shock priests. But it's one of those things that you're going to have to coordinate your whole strategy around it. So if you have the aircraft, give it a shot. Let me know how it works out. Then our last option as far as the army book goes is the Arc Gunship, 275 points, quality 3, defensive 2, aircraft, and toughness 6. It comes with a rear laser cannon, 1 shot, 36 inches, AP 3 and deadly 3, a twin P blaster, 4 shots at 18 inches with phosphor, and a P machine gun, 2 shots at 30 inches with phosphor. Even though that says rear laser cannon, it can pretty much shoot any direction you want. Just imagine it's on a really big ball turret. Again, 275 points for something you're only going to get to fire a maximum of 3 turns in a game. It has to pick its trajectory as soon as it's even deployed, even though it is harder to hit because it counts enemy weapons as being 12 inches further away, and it's a -1 to hit. It's still only toughness 6. If you were playing a really big game, I might take some for the fun of it, but on a lower point game like 2,000 to 4,000 points, I wouldn't bring it because it wouldn't be reliable in the slightest. So that brings us to the end of the army book. Now we're going to go on into a battle report where we got the war disciples that are going to be fighting against the machine cult. I'm going to try static camera rolling on the board next to where all the action is so that you guys can see the dice rolls, and I'll try to explain a little bit more as far as thoughts as the game go on. But you know me, I'm a smooth-brained orc that likes to see explosions and hear guns going off. I haven't recorded anything for it yet, so we're both going to figure out how it turned out together. Welcome out to the garage, where it was nice and warm a couple days ago, but this morning woke up to about 6 inches of snow. And a cat wandering in from the cold. What's up, buddy? So now that we're indoors, let me show you all my Machine Cult army. This is an eclectic version of stuff that I have collected over the years. There's very few pieces here that are unconverted, mostly because I'm missing a box. It is somewhere around here. Otherwise, there'd be even weirder stuff about. So we're going to start off with 2 squads of 5 rangers. Then we go to 10 shock priests that have the electrical fingers. They're going to be riding in the magical landing craft back there. Ignores big gun. Then there's 1 dragoon, a cult leader leading a squad of breachers, 1 squad of destroyers. You could tell that I watched The Matrix before I created those 2 units. And in the back, we have a unit of 10 sect stalkers with a sect leader. And then the opposing force today is the War Disciples, again back for their 3rd or 4th, I lost track, game. We all know what's in their list. I'll go ahead and flash it up on the screen, but yeah, that's who's going to be the opponent today. This is our table today. This time, hey look, we actually have some buildings, giving lots of line of sight corridors and quite a lot of line of sight blocking terrain. Once again, we are playing with 6 objectives on the table and are playing with the deck of mission cards. But not just any mission cards. As I was going through my boxes of my mechanical dudes, look what I found. A box of mission cards for an edition that no longer exists. On second thought, after going through that, those are silly cards. So back to the 1-page rules missions. Each army is going to get 5 cards. They are going to be able to discard 1 card every turn. At the end of the turn, score as many cards as possible at the end of the turn. And at the beginning of each turn, they are going to draw enough cards to bring their hand of cards up to 5. So let's see what we have for missions. Seize 3. Charge. On the march. Arcane channeling. It's normally not possible for this army, so they can discard that. Area Dominance, Spellbreaker, Seize 2, Outflank, Executioner, and Seize 3. It's a deployment for the War Disciples. We got cultists on the flank. Our heavy laser dudes in the building. One squad of mutated brothers. Our brute hiding in the corner. Another squad of mutated brothers. A squad of cultists with them. And I put the destroyers on the table. This way I don't forget that they exist. Deployment for the machine cult all the way on the far extreme is a dragoon, followed by 5 rangers. Our landing craft full of tickle-finkle priests. The breachers. The destroyers. 5 more rangers. And the sect infiltrators. And winning the roll-off, turn 1 goes to the War Disciples. Now we're going to break for what we normally do, and we're going to pull back a little bit, so you're going to actually get to see me move these units. So these are mutated brothers. They can go 16, but they are just going to hop to this cover here. So there they are, all nestled in there. So we are going to say that they are going to be out of line of sight of these guys currently. So for the Machine Cult's first activation, we are going to take said Dragoon and just move him to there. So now these guys don't got to worry about a fast vehicle up there, but they are going to move on to objective number 6. But they do got to worry about these dudes down here with some rifles, so they are going to go 6. And they have a range of 18, so they are going to be able to shoot everything into that squad. And it is the return of our good friend, the Dice Box. These guys have 5 shots with their radiation cannons, hitting on a 4. Now the cultists save on a 5. We got 2 dead cultists. Losing 2 out of the squad, that's not enough to cause a morale test. Now the War Disciples activation are heavy weapon guys. They are going to go up here so they can poke their heads over the wall. So all 3 of their heavy laser cannons are going into the landing craft, hitting on a 3. Ooh, 2 misses. Now the laser cannon's AP 3, so its 2 up save goes to a 5 up save, and it fails, taking 3 wounds. Those 3 wounds are half of what it had to start with, so morale test, she's fine. Time for these guys to get in some trouble. They are going to activate, and they are slow, so they're only going to go 4. But what they're going to do is angle themselves to where they can get 2 plasma cannon shots into that group of mutated brothers. So only 2 of them are able to see, and they hit on a 4. 1 goes through. Now, since the mutated brothers are in cover, they would get +1 to their save. But even with the +1, they're still only going to save on a 6. So looking for a 6 to save. 3 dead brothers. Next activation for the War Disciples, we're going to have the cultists. Ooh, as I punch the camera, we're going to have the cultists take off running. And they're going to end up on objective 1 right there. Next unit to activate over here will be the Breachers. They are going to, the squad's going to go 4. Just kind of shuffle this direction. Then our character is going to run 6 whole inches this way. Now, since he is a caster, he's going to go ahead and cast a spell. And what he has done by moving that far is he's put himself within 12 of the sect unit. So it takes 2 power to cast, and he is a caster too, so he gets it on a 4 and fails. Now that is unfortunate, and it put him in a position where the only enemy units that are within 24-inch range are going to be those cultists. So this is going to be definite overkill. So 3 shots hitting on a 4. All 3 hit. 3 saves, looking for 6s. All 3 dead. Feeling rather safe now that all the anti-tank weapons have fired. The Dread is going to go 12 inches up the board. Now our sect unit here in the building, along with already being fast with Strider and the Psalms, they have a 20-inch activation. So they are going to be able to go all the way into this squad here. So everyone in the unit has Furious. Everyone in the unit hits on a 3. So we get to roll a ton of dice. 6s are also Furious, so that 6s explode. Oop. Missed the box with 1. Oh, come on. This downside to the dice box. So I don't know if you counted that, but there were 9 rending hits. So all these save on a 6. Ooh, only 1. So that's 1 whole squad wiped from the board. They're going to get their little "we killed something" wiggle. Just kind of get a little further away from the cultist squad that's over there. Now, is that normal? No, absolutely not normal. I rolled 24 dice and I rolled 9 6s. With the amount of regular attacks that were coming in, the squad still probably would have died. Because even after those 9, I think with the furious extra hits involved, it was something like 17 more hits anyways. The last activation for the War Disciples, their unit of mutated brothers here, is going to go 16 inches straight ahead to about there. They're not going to be able to combat this turn, but they have no guns anyways. So they have one thing to do. That is go this way. And because they know that they have less activations this turn, they're going to go first next turn anyways. 3 more activations left for the machine cult. First is going to be our ranger squad here. We'll pop out and say hello to these cultists on objective 1. It'll be 5 shots hitting on a 4. Ooh, only 1 hit. Saving on a 5. It passes. And we're actually going to use its guns. It can go 8th in fire because it is fast. So it's going to come to sit right behind this squad. And it is going to fire at the cultists back on the objective in the rear. Now, because I have points left over, I actually put an additional phosphor machine gun on there, so it's going to be 8 shots hitting on a 3. Then the cultists save on a 5. It takes them down low enough, they're going to need a morale test. Their quality is 5, and they fail, so they are pinned. So last activation of turn 1, we are going to have our Tickle Finger Priests get out of the vehicle, and they're allowed to charge 6 inches into this squad here. And they're also going to get their 3 inches of, I get to twist around and get where I want to, leading to something that looks like that. So they don't have any AP on their weapons when they're just charging basic troops because the Slayer rule doesn't come into effect. But they do have Furious and Taser. So we're going to keep track of all the 6s because for every 6 that hits, it's going to be an additional 2 hits. So they hit on a 3. So with all of our additional attacks, 20 attacks turned into 24 hits, even with a few misses in there. And the War Disciples, the mutated brothers, save on a 3. As I missed the box. That didn't go particularly well, only killing 4 of the mutated brothers. Now the mutated brothers fight back. Let's see what their mutation is. It is going to be rending. This is probably the worst case scenario for the electric priests because they have regeneration, but because these attacks are rending, that no longer applies. So the mutated brothers hit on a 3. There was 1 6 in there. Now, while they do have Furious, it did not go off because they were not the ones that charged and initiated this combat. So 1 save on a 6. Fails. And the rest of the armor saves on a 4. So we lost 7 of the priests, put up against 4 of the mutated brothers. They lost combat by 3, so that means they need to take a morale test, and they pass it on a 3, which they fail. That means all of our electric jazz finger priests are going to run off the board. That just goes to show that this is a dice game, and sometimes you win, and sometimes you lose on the dice rolls. If the shock priests had performed like the sect infiltrators did on the other side of the board, this squad would be gone and our shock priests would still be around. So at the end of turn 1, let's see what the score is. For the War Disciples, they were able to score 2 points on an outflank because there are no machine cult within 12 inches of the middle of the board. And they were also able to score charge. They were able to destroy a unit in melee even though they were not the ones that initiated the charge. So what they are going to discard is Arcane Channeling because they just can't cast spells. These are the 2 cards they have left over, and then they are going to draw Seize 5, Seize 2, and Hold 2. And for the Machine Cult, these are the objectives they have in their hand right now. They were unable to score any of them. Seize 3 is in pretty much the deployment zone of the War Disciples on the march. They still have a unit in their deployment zone. Control any 3 objective markers. Not quite yet. We only have 2. Control objective marker 2. Don't have that yet either. And Executioner. What we're going to do is we're going to get rid of Executioner because the entire War Disciples army only has a 1 hero total. So that means they're never going to be able to get 2. And what they're going to pull is hold 1. And at the beginning of turn 2, I kind of jumped the gun here. Our destroyers for the War Disciples are going to pop in. Danger close here to the middle. So on turn 2, the War Disciples get the first activation, and of course, this is going to happen. So the first attack is going to be from our Destroyer Champion. He hits on a 2 because he has been upgraded to do so. So he hits on a 2, he has a Rending and Furious. So 6s are exploding, and you need a 6 to save. So 2 6s hit, that means he needs 6s, that's 2 fails. So I look back at the tape, he has the ability to give his squad Furious on 5s and 6s. So the 6s were still the only thing that went through with AP4, but that means he got 4 additional hits, so all these save on a 3. So now for the rest of the Destroyer's attacks, again, these are Rending, and the squad has Furious on a 5 and 6, 12 attacks, hitting on a 3. So only 1 6, but it's a fail. Now I'm going to have to slow roll because we only have 3 wounds left before we get to the characters. So 3 at a time. They're good. He's good. He takes 2 wounds, so he's got 1 wound left. So all that the Breachers and the character have coming back are 4 attacks, hitting on a 4. They've been on a 3. Hold. The Destroyers take 1 wound. So now the Destroyers obviously won combat. Our Breacher squad has to test on their morale on a 4, which they fail, and they run off the board. So that is going to cause problems. On this flank, our Dragoon is going to plow into here. Now for this fight, I'm going to introduce the concept of fast rolling. That means that if you have 2 different groups of dice to roll, use a different colored dice to do it. So our black dice are going to be at stomp attacks, and our white dice are going to be the taser lances. Its taser lance does have both taser and lance, so those attacks are going to be AP3, and its stomps are just going to be AP1. So it hits on a 3. So the 2 hits at AP1, they're going to take 1 wound, and because of the taser, the 4 hits at AP3, they're going to take 4 more. Bringing it down to just 1 mutated brother. What's his mutation? It's going to be AP +1. So he has 2 attacks hitting on the 3. 1 hit. AP1, so it saves on a 3. Fails. Now the mutated brother did lose combat, so he needs to pass his morale test on a 3, which he fails. But he also has Fearless, so that means after a failed morale test, he gets a 4+ to stick around. And he will. Now that that's going on in the streets, our heavy weapon guys over here are going to fire at the Dragoon. Now there's a lot more to this shooting interaction than I thought there was going to be. So the Dragoon has stealth, and he is over 9 inches away. That means that the heavy weapons, normally they hit on a 3, they're going to hit on a 4. They also have Relentless, so any 6s from the heavy weapon dudes means that they're going to get an additional hit. So 3 shots hitting on a 4. And they all miss anyways. Now for the machine cults, our plasma cannon, these destroyers or breachers? I don't know. Whichever one has the plasma cannon is going to fire at the destroyers. 3 shots hitting on a 4. And they completely missed too. Oh no. So over on this flank, these cultists are going to do something very strange for the War Disciples. They are going to book it this direction because they have a lot of objective cards for this objective and not this one. So while they could charge forward and kill these Rangers, it's probably be more opportunistic to get some points. Now because there are no more real heavy shooting weapons on the board, we're going to have to use our Sect Infiltrators to charge into the Infernal Brute. Let's see if we can get a repeat of last time. 24 attacks, they all hit on 3s, they're all AP1 and Furious. Not as insanely good as last time, but we do have 4 sixes that save on a 6, so that'll be 3 wounds there. And the rest save on a 3. That adds up to 12 wounds, which is just enough to pluck the brute off the board. That leads us to very few activations left for the War Disciples. These guys are going to recover and no longer be pinned. So for the Machine Cult, just because we're going to have our landing craft plow into that mutated brother. Our landing craft has 6 impact hits. They hit on a 2. And our mutated brother saves on a 3. Oh, he's going to survive, so he gets to attack back. He has 2 attacks. He's still AP 1, and he only hits on a 6 because he is fatigued. He gets 1 hit. AP 1, so the landing craft saves on a 3. It passes. The only thing left is for that mutated brother's actual turn, or actual activation. He's just going to charge into those rangers. So here we go. He only has 2 attacks, but he is furious when he charges, but still only hitting on 6s. He ends up with a 6, which gives him 2 hits. The ranger saves a 4, but for the entire turn, he's AP 1, so looking for a 5. Fail 1. 4 attacks back from the remaining rangers, hitting on a 4. 1 hit, saving on a 3. Oh, and the mutated brother goes down. Last activation of the turn, these rangers are going to book it onto objective number 1, and they're going to take some shots at those cultists over there. So 5 shots hitting on a 4. We got 4 hits, saving on a 5. 3 go down. That takes the cultists to below half, so morale test. They're fine. So the end of turn number 2. The War Disciples are able to score Seize 2, and they're able to score Spellbreaker for killing the 1 caster that was on the board. So what they get for new objectives, hold 6 and hold 3. For the Machine Cult on turn number 2, it looks like they're not going to be able to score any points this turn either. They still have 1 unit in their deployment zone for on the march, and hold 1, they're only able to take it this turn. You only score this if you start the turn holding it and you continue holding it. The Machine Cult looks like they're going to need to speed up on some points. So at the beginning of turn 3, we are once again going to start with the Destroyers. They're just going to continue their rampaging path across the back of the board. So Destroyer Commander, the same as last time, looking to hit on 2s, 5s, and 6s explode, and 6s are rending. Oh no. Not as bad as it initially looked. He hits on a 2. So these save on 6s. 2 fails. The rest of the attacks save on a 4. 12 attacks with the rest of the Destroyers. Hitting on a 3, 5s and 6s explode. No 6s in that group, but they only save on a 4 because these guys don't have the heaviest armor. Doing 12 wounds, that's enough to take out all 3 of these big guys. Bringing us to this side of the board, the Dragoon is just going to slam into these 3 cultists over there. Again, with a bit of fast rolling, the black dices are the AP 1, and the yellow dice are the lance and taser hits. Only 2 hits, and it was only the AP 1s, but they only have a 5 armor to begin with. 2 go down. 1 cultist attacks back, hitting on a 5, and fails. Morale test for the lone cultist. He's gone. The heavy weapons team is going to fire that Dragoon to make sure he doesn't take that objective. This time the Dragoon has moved within 9 inches, so stealth does not apply. They hit on a 3. 1 hit. AP 3, so saving on a 5. The Dragoon takes 3 wounds, which means it needs to take a morale test, and it passes. Now it's time for our Sect Warriors over here. With their extremely fast speed, they could catch these Destroyers. But they're at a point where they're looking for victory points. They're going to go chill on objective number 3 over there. Our cultists over here are going to get nice and close to the building, enough to where they'll kind of receive... We'll say they're going to receive a cover save if they get shot at by the Rangers. Which, of course, that's what's going to happen as soon as the Rangers move a hair this direction, so they are not in charge range of those Destroyers for the last turn. So it's going to be 5 shots hitting on a 4. And the cover gives them +1 save, so they're going to save on a 4. So we have one, but finally radiation comes into play. That's an additional wound. So it'll be 3 wounds total, leaving one of the cultists left alive who needs to take a morale test and fails. Then our last 2 activations for the machine cult. We're going to go ahead and move this guy his 8 inches towards this objective. He's going to fire all of his machine guns up there, and then this squad of rangers is also going to add their firepower to that. I'm going to roll it together. So our double machine guns hitting on a 3. The phosphor weapon rule finally comes into effect. It means that it ignores all cover, which they would have a cover save here normally, but they're still saving on a 3. And that will be enough to wipe that squad out. I didn't even get to roll the ranger shots. So at the end of turn number 3, the War Disciples are not able to score any points because they would have scored hold 2, but a unit that's pinned cannot hold any objective. And where we're going into the final turn, that card is going to be unscorable. So they are going to discard that card. And they are going to draw Seize 1. The Machine Cult, on the other hand, they're able to score Seize 3. On the march, area dominance because they are now standing on 4 different objectives, and they're able to score hold 1 because they held it at the beginning and the end of turn number 3, so that will give them 6 victory points. Let's see what they're going to pick up. They're upside down. Total dominance. Cleanse disguise. Oh, there's no flying units, so let's draw a different card. Delve deep. Seize 5, and take no prisoners. So opening move of turn number 4, the destroyers are not going to be able to get to the ranger unit. The only thing they're going to be able to do is knock over the train, is make sure objective number 1 is contested. Our ranger buddies are going to continue to pick on that lone cultist hiding in the doorway. 5 shots, look for 4s. And they completely miss. That's a great way to end it. Because after that, hold, 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 and hold. At the end of the turn, the War Disciples are unable to score anything, but our Machine Cult is able to score Seize 5. And delve deep because they have 1 unit that is in the enemy's deployment zone. That gives us a final score of 8-5 for a Machine Cult win. The War Disciples have finally been knocked out of the running. So my thoughts on the game, that went pretty well for the Machine Cult. Even though a few of my notes are our sect infiltrators, they kind of overperformed. And our Tickle Finger Priests, they definitely underperformed. Now, what we could have done different is because of the Slayer rule for the priests, they could have gone after the Infernal Brute and probably taken it out because all of their attacks would have had AP2. Even though it had 12 wounds on a 4-up save, they had the mass behind them to explode that many dice. They would have either killed it or crippled it down to where it probably would not have been an issue going forward. But they failed. And these guys picked up the slack. MVP of the game, they killed 1 whole squad of mutated brothers, and they killed the Infernal Brute. They actually overperformed from what I thought they were going to do in my mind. Other units of note on the board was the Destroyers and the Breachers. The Breachers missing all of their shots 2 turns in a row. That's just bad luck on their part. In either of those cases, if the blast 3 from the plasma cannon had hit those destroyers, it probably would have done a lot of damage. It should have been 2 dead destroyers at least. Might not have removed the squad. It would have opened up other options for ways to deal with what was left over. Also, it didn't help that the one time I tried to cast a power with the caster, it was a dud. Maybe there's some more strategy to that, but when you get jumped on by an entire squad of destroyers and a captain, there's really not much you can do about that. So if you've made it this far, thanks for watching. Remember to like and subscribe. I try to put out an Army Focus video once a week on the weekends. On Wednesdays, our campaign for Age of Fantasy is going to be every 3 weeks. That allows people 2 weeks to get their battle reports in to affect the campaign itself. And Wednesdays is going to kind of be my one-off video days to where I make a fun battle report or I'd just sit in front of the camera and complain about stuff. So that'll do it for us here in the garage. Thanks for watching, everybody. Remember, don't take it too seriously. It's just a game. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.